Okay, the purpose of this video is to help you with your test 3 corrections. I'm not going to give you the answers, but I'm going to help you get the steps to do it. So when you're doing your corrections, you have to show all the work to get the credit. So for number 1, it says solve for y, and a lot of people when they were doing this problem, they thought y-intercept. It doesn't say y-intercept, so that's not what we're going to do. If it says solve for y, that means you use MDR, which is move, divide, reduce. So in this problem, you have to move the x term, which is negative 2x. So since it's negative, you have to add 2x to both sides. Okay, then your next step is to divide by the coefficient of y. So that means whatever number is right next to y, which is 3 in this case. And then you have to reduce everything. So go ahead and pause the video and do those 3 steps. If you need help, ask me. Okay, then on number 2 it asks for the x and y intercepts. When you see the word intercepts, you should think 0. So when you're doing x-intercept, that's when you want your y value to be 0. And when you're doing y-intercepts, you want your x value to be 0. So for x-intercept, make y equal 0. So that just means replace all the y's with a 0. Okay, then you have to solve for x. That's as far as I'm going to go for that. And then on the y-intercept, you would make x equal 0. So replace every single x with a 0. And then solve that. And your goal is to make it x equals and y equals, and whatever you get is what you put into your coordinates. Okay, then once you have your coordinates, you're going to graph them, and the x-intercept goes on the x-axis, which is this one, and the y-intercept goes on the y-axis, which is this one. So pause this video and go ahead and do the problem. Okay, so it's asking for the slope, and since we're given 2 points, that's when you know you have to use the slope formula. And so if you label your points x1, y1, x2, y2, plug them into the formula. And remember, if you get 0 over a number, the answer is 0. If you get a number on top of 0, your answer is undefined. Okay, pause the video and go on to the next one after you're done. Okay, on this one you have to distribute both of these. And probably where most people mess up is that they forget a negative times a negative equals a positive. And a negative times a positive equals a negative. So if the signs are the same, you get a positive. If the signs are different, you get a negative. So for instance, negative 7 times x would be negative 7x. But then the next one, negative 7 times negative 2, since it's a negative times a negative, it would be positive 14. And then you have to go on and do the next set. And then this one, since it's outside of the parentheses, you're not going to multiply it by anything. You'll just put that down at the end. Pause the video and do the problem. Okay, this one says, which relation does not represent y as a function of x? So it's asking which one's not a function. So this is the one where you look and see, does x repeat? This one should have been a problem that everybody got right, and yet so many did not get it right. So remember, if you have a mapping like answer choice A, this is x and y, you look to see if x repeats, so you're looking right here. If you have a graph like C or B, that's where you use the vertical line test. And then this one, look at your x values, do they repeat? pause it and figure out which one is not a function. Okay, this one says, in the equation 6.5x plus 1.4y equals 59, what's the value of x when y equals 5? So they're telling you that y is 5. So in the equation, you should replace the y with a 5. And then we have to solve it. So your first step should be to multiply 1.4 times 5. And it will give you 7. I'm going to leave it there. You have to get x by itself. Pause it and do the problem. Yeah, number 7, it's a confusing one, but really it gives you the answer already. The easiest way is to set up a table. So you know this is f of x equals y. So in this one, our x value, which is always in the parentheses, would be 4. And the y value would be 17. And same thing, x value is in the parentheses, so it's 6, and y value is 22. Now you just have to use the table to figure out when is x 4, or what's y when x is 4. Okay. On number 8, you have to find the slope and the x-intercept. X-intercept should always be a coordinate. Half of y'all got it wrong because you didn't put it as a coordinate, and you're looking on your x-axis, so you just have to write down what this coordinate right here is. And then for slope, the easiest thing to do is to use your two x-intercepts and do your slope triangle. And remember, slope is rise over run. And remember, if your line is going down, your slope is negative. Pause the video and go ahead and do this problem. Okay, which of the following equations written in slope-intercept form, that's y equals mx plus b, has a slope of 6, remember slope is your m value, and a y-intercept of negative 4, that's your b value. So you just have to plug in these two numbers where they belong. Pause the video and try it out. Okay, number 10, we have to figure out which one is equivalent to this one. So it looks like they all solved for m, so basically we have to solve for m. And so anytime you're solving for a variable, use MDR. So, move is only when you have addition or subtraction. We don't have any of that, so we're going to skip the move step. So obviously, the answer choices that have addition or subtraction in them cannot be right. The next step would be to divide. So since we're trying to get m by itself, you want to divide by everything except for m so that they'll cancel out. So that means you'll divide by the g and the h. And then you can reduce it if you can. Okay, number 11, determine the slope and the y-intercept and graph it. So this is already in the good form, y equals mx plus b. All you have to do to find the slope, which is m, is look and see what lines up with m, and then b is the y-intercept. Look and see what lines up with b. No one should have gotten these wrong. Okay, and then when you graph it, you would start at your y-intercept, make sure you put it on the y-axis, which is the up and down one, and then make your slope a fraction, and it would be rise over run. So the top number is either up or down, depending on if it's positive or negative, and the run is always to the right. Okay, and then for the last one, this one got a lot of y'all. you have to solve for y before you can figure out the slope, because it has to be y equals mx plus b for you to know what the slope is. So that means use MDR. And you're going to move the x term because you're trying to get y by itself, so you're going to have to add 12x. Then you divide by the coefficient of y, and in this case the coefficient of y is 4, so divide by 4. And then reduce, and see who's right. Who got 3 after you reduced? Which one has a 3 right in front of the x after you do all those steps? And then explain how you can actually figure that out. Okay, for the bonus, you're not going to get any bonus points now, but maybe for next time it'd be good to know. You just sketched a quick graph. It wants to know if the x-intercept and y-intercept are the same non-zero number, so that just means they're any number besides 0. So let's say, for instance, they're both 2. It wants to know what's the slope. So this is where you would draw your triangle. So how much does it go down? 1, 2, so that's -2. How much does it go over? +2. So your slope is rise over run. And in this case it's -2 over 2. And when you reduce it, it's equal to -1. So that's the answer. Not very many people got that one. That's why it was a bonus question. Alright, make sure you have all the right answers before you turn it in. That way you can get all your points back.